This is not the first time that we've lived through a pandemic. Not just in this country, but pandemics mean around the world. And I'm reminded very intensively of what happened with HIV/AIDS. In the beginning, it wasn't diagnosed, and then people didn't believe that they would in any way be vulnerable. They saw it as something that belonged to one class of people until the epidemic became a pandemic, and it was a whole lot further along, and people started realizing they were vulnerable. And one of the greatest challenges with prevention was there were two. The one was the level of ignorance and the need for information and the denial of information when it was shared. And the other was that in our prevention research, we found that what really mattered most for behavior change was not the education, but the attitude change. Because we don't change behavior until we change our attitude, which in turn gives us the motivation to want to change our behavior. One of the things we did during our AIDS research through National Institutes of Health was we developed what we called a behavior trigger video that was snippets of things that have happened through time, like the challenges around tuberculosis. We've had many of these. We've had tuberculosis, we've had polio, we've had HIV/AIDS, we've had flu pandemics. And in every one of them, the challenge has been moving the population from the position of ignorance, then fear, to understanding and behavior change. And in between the understanding and behavior change is attitude. So what we did with our video was we took people through the history and showed them, we didn't talk about it, we just showed snippets of pieces that people might or might not be aware of, might or might not remember, having them understand that this is just one in a series of major pandemics that we as humans have survived. But our survival depends on our intentions to behave in a way that will protect us. So what we did was we compared the videotape that was to help them change their attitude in order to want to change behavior, the knowledge, giving them the educational piece on its own, and then the two together. And the knowledge alone was the least effective. The video alone was way more effective. The two together, obviously, were most effective, but not by a large margin. The video alone helping people see that particular pandemic, which was HIV/AIDS, in the perspective of our survival and resilience as a human race. That's what helped them change their attitude, was knowing that we will survive, that we do what we can to protect ourselves, and ultimately, as a race, will survive. And it's up to each of us to remember our basic hygiene, our caring for one another, whether we're young, in our teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, able to carry the virus, but needing to protect the elders and others that we love in our community and our family.